We are back. Life in Brazil. Indian and Lithuanian couple on the Brazilian rainforest. Today we are talking about living through being instead of living through doing. When you're doing, everything is compulsive and mental. When you're being, you are in your essence. From your soul, you're talking. From your soul. It starts jumping out of you. Everything is just jumping out of you. Jumping out of your soul. Bling, plong, bloop. Welcome back to the Superconscious podcast. This is our 9th episode potentially. And today we'll be talking about
Potentially.
potentially because we still don't know if we will publish it or not. Because we do have a tendency to go into tangents that we are not satisfied with.
Perfectionists. High standards.
High standard perfectionists who only accept the best from each other and ourselves.
And you.
And you.
No pressure.
There is no pressure. And that's exactly what we are here to talk about. Today's episode is about the difference between doing versus being. I was just looking at the thing that's spinning in the background. Welcome back to the Superconscious podcast with Ruta and Tio from the Atlantic rainforest of Brazil. Today's episode is about the difference between doing and being. That when we are doing through doing versus doing through being, we are operating from a different place. So when we are in what I'm calling doing through doing, it comes very mentally, where you're practicing skills, strategy, and you're in this very defined structure where you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. That's why I call it doing through doing. And then you have doing through being, where things are just flowing out of your soul, flowing. It just pours out of your soul so naturally. And while we are joking about it, it's also what actually happens. Like it it sounds like this very airy-fairy woo-woo thing, but it's what has been our experience. Like basically, we have, we've had experience trying to do things in the traditional way, and both of us being very unconventional, we just ended up failing drastically when we tried to force ourselves into these conventional structures. And basically, because we were so frustrated with the conventional way of doing things, we were desperately trying to find a different way to do things. And in doing that, essentially there was a resignation where we said that we can't do it in the way that we are supposed to do it.
Fuck that shit.
So what ended up happening is that we started listening to ourselves and doing the things the way we felt like doing them. And as we went down that path, we also started finding other people who are doing things through their essence rather than the way that they are supposed to do things. And this, like at first it looks like it's not working at all. At first it looks like you can't do it this way because everyone says that you have to do it the other way. You have to follow all these rules. You have to have discipline. You have to please your customers, you have to blah blah blah. There's all of these rules of how it's supposed to be done, and none of it was actually working for us. So when we started listening to ourselves, one of Puta, that's our dog, the male bitch. I call him Puto. Puta is a female bitch, and Puto is a male bitch.
Mean parents.
It's with love, Puto. And then the
Putinho.
Puccino is the little Putin because that's how our dog is. Anyways, coming back to the point.
That's how we go on tangents.
So one of the big realizations that's come is that one way of leveling up is to learn the skills of the next level, which is done through a lot of effort and discipline and hard work, where you're constantly in this repetition and forcing yourself and molding yourself into this next level person, where also that next level is defined in a very 3D way, like, oh, this, I will be more productive, I will be more this, I'll be more that. So you can become more of that through all of this efforting. But what are you really seeking? If you're really seeking the next level results, if you're really seeking the next level of fulfillment within yourself, it's unlikely that you will find it in this forceful way of putting in a lot of effort and molding yourself into something that society is telling you to be. Our way of finding the next level has been very different, which is to actually become that person through inner transformation. And what happens there is that you realize that the next level person already knows all of the stuff that needs to be done and speaks from that place and does from that place. So if we take an example of, like, speaking with authority, you can learn it in this very 3D way of forcing yourself and practicing all the right skills and following all the coaches who will teach you how to speak the right way and appear the right way. And then you can look like you have authority and you can fake it till you make it, which is what a lot of people do. Is like, I will practice authority, I'll practice confidence. And you can appear to have all of that. And inside, you may still feel like an imposter, which is very common. I have gone through that process. Probably you've gone through that process too. What the switch is that you actually feel authority, you actually feel confidence, and you don't need to practice anything. You just speak directly from your authority and confidence. And that is such a different place where you don't feel like an imposter at all. And you just speak from your natural authority because you know your shit. It's because you're confident that you know this like the back of your hand. So you don't need to practice and rehearse and all of this. Like this talk right now. It's like, I did not practice this talk. I'm just speaking from my inner authority because I know my shit. I know what I'm talking about. I know that talking about being is very natural for me because I've been practicing this for years. This is my authority. This is my domain. I don't need to fake it till I make it. I'm there already. So that's one of the things, is to realize, where do you already have authority? Where do you already feel that? You can already shift into that. And it's not about the skill, it's about the being. And that skill is naturally present at that next level being when you own yourself, when you feel that when you feel the worthiness of what you have to give to the world. That's one of the essential keys, in my opinion, is feeling that worthiness, like, yes, this is worth so much. And if I bring this forward and I just speak about it naturally, there is this calm, natural authority in it. I don't have to force it, I don't have to fake it, and people can feel it. People can feel the authenticity of my authority.
I have nothing to add because you said everything. Oh, you said a few things like the imposter syndrome, you said about worthiness. And for me, the biggest change and shift between doing and being, or doing from the doing and doing from the being, is exactly in that, in your worthiness. And are you connected with your worthiness to the extent that you feel like it's a no-brainer for you just show up and talk from that place. It's a natural flow. You don't have to fake it. You don't have to pretend. You don't feel like you're wearing any masks. You don't feel like you need to, appear a certain way. And you're just showing up as you. And there's nothing to hide for you. And I think that's something that a lot of people fall into, where they feel like there's something to hide. And it's like, oh my God, what if I get found out? And, people will figure out that I'm an imposter and I actually don't know my shit and I don't know as much as I say I do. And really, if you give yourself permission to just own it, own your gifts and own your talents and own who you really are, then it becomes so effortless to show up the way you are. And the key here is to really do the things that you love doing and focus on becoming the version of you who wants to be that person. So, we speak a lot in our episodes on focusing on the things that are in alignment with who you truly are. And are you becoming the version of you are really proud of? Are you becoming the version of you who you are really feeling like this is really truly who I am in my core? Or are you just playing the game to fit in, to please other people, to make your parents happy, to make your spouse happy, to appear better when you're dating other people, or to appear better in business partnerships, or whatever that is? In our experience, the most powerful people on this planet are the ones who own themselves fully. They are imperfectly perfect and perfectly imperfect, just the way they are, and they own it. They own their quirkiness, they own their silliness, they own who they truly are, even if they make mistakes. They own those mistakes, they own their issues, they own their imperfections, and they show up that way. And they're like, you know what, I'm unapologetic. I don't give a damn what people are thinking about me. And when you come from that place of, you know what, I know my worth, like you said earlier, I know the value that I bring into this world, and automatically the things you're going to do, the things you're going to create, the things that you're going to say, how you're going to behave, how you're going to treat other people in the room, for example, is going to be in alignment with that next version of you. And again, that's because you are owning who you truly are.
And this is such an important point, that the reason a lot of people don't have that inner confidence and authority is because they kill it themselves with the narrative that only when I am perfect, I have authority. Only when I am not making a single mistake, then I will feel confident. And obviously, that is nonsense. Like, no one who has real authority and confidence is perfect. They can appear in that confidence because they allow themselves to make mistakes, because they allow themselves to be imperfect, because they have that permission for imperfection. They actually can show up fully, because if they make a mistake, they own it and they don't waste their time on it and they don't obsess over it and they just move on. I've heard of a lot of speakers who will go, and just to clarify, this is not about public speaking and content and everything. It's like that's just one of the examples we are taking. But I've heard of a lot of speakers who will, after they finish their talk, the first thing that they will do is that they will spend hours criticizing how they did not deliver it perfectly, how they made a mistake, how they were not really in their element. Oh, this could have been better. Oh, it was better the last
Oh,
time.
that's me. Oh my God, I have a flashback. Holy moly, guacamole. Do you want to finish your thoughts?
Oh, sure. I remember this example also from a friend of ours who gave a talk, and she was realizing after, like, this was actually after working with her, she was realizing that it was for the first time that she was not feeling that, and she was just actually celebrating how good the whole talk went. And before that, always she used to be in this super critical state. So yeah,
My example is from how long ago now? Probably 5, 6 years ago, back in the corporate world. I was the host or a co-host of a Christmas party of our corporate event. And I was supposed to have a speech and go up on the stage and speak in front of hundreds of people. And when I went down after giving the speech and hosting everything, when I went down off the stage, I was like, oh my God, I was so terrible. I was so nervous. It must have been a disaster, blah, blah, blah. And every single person, including my manager, including every single colleague that I was having a conversation with, were telling me how I absolutely killed it. And that was like, so why am I criticizing myself so much? Like, where is this coming from? And that came from that lack of worthiness and lack of self-confidence. And it came from a place of like, okay, I'm an imposter and I'm just faking it and so on and so forth. Now, having these kind of conversations, okay, this is a kind of in front of a camera, but even when we are hosting groups, for example, when it comes to group coaching, it comes from the heart. So it's no longer this like, oh, I have to prepare myself and, have a structure and say the right things and be all charming and everything. That charm is no longer fake, artificial, manufactured. It's no longer coming from a place of like, I have to prove myself to the world. I have to appear a certain way. People are looking at me, and what if they judge me? It's coming from a very different place. It comes from this like, you know what? I'm just having fun. It's just fun to speak to people. It's just fun to transform people's lives. It's just fun to share my wisdom with amazing human beings. It's just fun to help them in whichever shape or form. It's just fun. And that's what we're doing. And that's what we're also inviting you to do as well. That how can you, again, like I said earlier, how can you do the things that you really absolutely love doing in the way that makes you feel so not only inspired but also confident, because it's your jam. It's like, this is who you are. You are made of it. You are it. You are not that public speaker. You are not that business that you are creating. You are the essence of everything that you're doing. And it's like there's no separation between this and that, what you are delivering or and who you are. It's exactly who you are. And that's why it pours out of you, like the soul, like you said. The soul is pouring out of you naturally because it's just a no-brainer. It's like, that's it. I'm exactly in my element.
Yeah, and like just to also add to the point of what I said earlier, that there is a place for skill building and skill stacking and all of that. Again, it all depends on where you're coming from. Are you doing that to force yourself to up level in this very mechanical, linear way? Or are you like, in that inspiration, like, okay, now I just want to learn this and add this piece here, add this piece there. But you always come from your essence, you come from your passion, you come from your inspiration, not from trying to race ahead to the end of the game because I have to win the game and all of this nonsense. So it what we are talking about is shifting from this linear compulsive way of doing things into this authentic, essence-based passion, inspiration approach where you become the person who owns themselves, who owns their gifts, wherever, in whatever domain that be. Even if you're a carpenter, you're building a house, whatever you're doing, it's like, I know myself, I know my stuff, and I hold that authority wherever I go. And when you are owning that authority to go to the next level, again, it's like whatever that next level that you want to jump to, when you directly jump into that person, which is totally possible, your soul holds the codes for all the levels that you want to jump to and that you're meant to jump to. So when you allow yourself to open up to that level of soul and you jump to the next level, you already know how to be at that level. Again, it's not like this imposter syndrome of, have I learned enough? Have I developed enough skills and all of this? It's like, no, at that level, it's just easy to be that level because that's just who I am. So suppose, it's like taking a whole different example. Suppose you're talking about a prince and a king. A prince is a prince and has those responsibilities. And from the prince level, if you try to think of what the king is doing, it'll be like, oh, that's so difficult. I can't take on all of this responsibility because it's so much. But when you step into the king's suit, right? Like that soul suit, if you just switch and you become the king already holds all the properties to be a king. So in that, it's not like when you think from the lower levels how to do the higher level thing, it always looks difficult. If you just step into the higher level role, you realize that the resources available at that level, the power available at that level, the way of thinking at that level is totally different. And when you are operating from that, everything is effortless and easy to a certain degree. And it's not in this forceful, effortful way. It's just naturally pouring out of your soul.
I love your example of the carpenter because I actually in real life know two carpenters and they're the exact polar opposites. One is the one who doesn't believe in himself whatsoever and therefore undervalues himself basically in all shapes and forms and doesn't promote his work and all of that stuff. While the other one is not just a carpenter, he presents himself as an artist, as a sculptor, as like just a creator of something beautiful. And the difference that makes is just unbelievable because one, the first one clearly doesn't really move forward in life and clearly is operating from the wrong place. And the other one, even though has exactly the same skill set, exactly the same results when it comes to like the physical stuff that they actually do, but because of the way they walk through life and what they expect from life and how they expect to be treated and how they expect to be even paid for example, for their work and for their craft, it brings completely different results when it comes to everything. So this second person lives like a king, like you just said, because they walk through life as kings. And that is an example also of how whatever it is that you choose to do in life, it doesn't have to determine how your life goes when it comes to what kind of level of success you can achieve. Because stop looking at what others have achieved in whichever industry you're in. Stop looking at what others have achieved. Only look at those who have achieved amazing things. Maybe you will find also some amazing success stories within your industry. If not, then look somewhere outside and be inspired by that. And when you create that archetype within yourself that, you know what, I'm ready to be that king, I'm ready to be that queen, I'm ready to be that pop star or whoever you want to be, then it's going to be much easier for you to also tap into that energy because you will have an image in your mind and in your heart created by, okay, so how that person would feel like if I was a pop star, how would that person feel like? How would that person talk to herself or himself? How would that person show up? How would that person talk to other people? How would that person use their language or their body language? Like, what would they do? And that when you start tapping into that frequency over and over and over and over again, like you just said, it becomes so much easier and so much more playful also to live life because you're no longer coming from like, oh, I have to be a pop star now, and it all becomes so serious. And in this case, it's playful, and when it's playful, it's light, and when it's light, that energy flows so much easier and it touches so many more people, and those people get magnetized to you because you are light and playful and fun to be around, and they want a piece of that too.
So I think that's a wrap, and you'll see us next time.